has, the capability to play that kind of style as well very well.
Yeah, and he's got picked up by Team Soul Mid earlier this year as well, so got some backing there, so not a surprise. But your one to watch, Mr. Brian Kibler.
My player to watch, he's actually been flying under the radar for quite a while, despite having a first and second place finish at DreamHack Majors just this year. He's had a remarkable amount of success, not quite on the HCT yet, and I think that this may be his opportunity to break out and have a strong performance here.
All righty. Well, I'll go through quickly my picks here. Maybe. First pick is Dog, sort of a similar reasoning to Firebat for Fibonacci. This is a control meta, and I don't really trust anyone more than I trust Dog when it comes to a control meta. And he's got the lineup to sort of beat control with both Jade Druid and Rogue. So I'm going to pick Dog. He always makes it far in HCT events as well. He's never sort of made it all the way, but he's has one of the best records.
Generate value off cards like Draconid Operative, which are insane on the board. You're actually gaining tempo as you're gaining value. It is actually unfair. Like, Priest was a dumpster class when Draconid Operative was released. Now Priest is actually very, very playable. You start to get this feeling that, like, Draconid Operative is just way too strong. But, Anduin needs some toys every now and again. He can't be the dumpster guy forever.
Yeah, and Amnesiac taking the win there versus WTY Bill might be the start of a victory in this series, as he didn't have the best of winter seasons, but he's definitely feeling good about his chances now.
Thinking back to winter playoffs, I'm actually pretty happy with how things went down. I was really happy to make it out of the Swiss step bracket. I was proud of that.
We have Amnesiac versus Frozen.
Possibly the biggest game that we have in this top 8. It's a match between two of North America's most high-profile players.
It was pretty unfortunate that I had to play against Frozen because we were definitely the two best players in top 8.
That is it.
Amnesiac is going to have to wait one more season at least. It's going to be pressure on himself with some of his statements because he knows he has the mentality to live up for it.
When it comes to having haters, I really don't blame them because at the end of the day, I am an overconfident kid, but I back it up with some of the best results in the world, so you kind of just roll with the punches. Making it back to the World Championship has been my goal all year. Winning at this spring playoffs and qualifying to go to Shanghai, I could promise that I would put in 100% effort and show up ready to win in China.
He does pile a lot of pressure on himself, not looking too
He's not feeling the pressure right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely not feeling that pressure right now, Raven.
Just lay back, chilling, getting ready to go into his game. And he talked a lot about... Now he's just hugging his cat.
He's trying to hug us. It's all right.
We love you too, Andy.
It's all right, Will. We're here for you. We'll hold you, buddy. We got you.
And he did mention as well, going comfortable as we move on to potentially the last game of this series. If WTY Bill can get a win, it's going to be Paladin on Paladin action.
And again, this is potentially a rough spot for Amnesiac. We will add the asterisk one more time that there are only 28 cards in the copy of WTY Bill's deck that we have in front of us. We're assuming the last two cards are Tyrion and N'Zoth, because anything else just seems like baffling nonsense. So if that...
Deathwing and Deathwing.
Right, if that is the case, then Bill is running a N'Zoth Control Paladin with Elise the Trailblazer into Amnesiac's Control Paladin that has no N'Zoth and no Elise the Trailblazer, which means that Amnesiac is going to have to find a way to set up a win condition for himself in terms of pushing damage and being aggressive. And as I mentioned at the end of the previous game of this series, there is pretty much no worse deck in Hearthstone at trying to kill the opponent than Control Paladin.
Yeah, they sort of just like stare at each other, right?
Yeah.
No, we're just going to get this technical issue sorted out, guys. Sorry about that. We'll have a look at it. But yeah, the Paladin deck's pretty much just like give each other harsh stares until one of them, like, I don't know, needs the bathroom or something, and has to just leave the game due to that. They just try and outlast each other. It's kind of crazy to watch.
But it's a huge problem, right? Like, when you run Control Paladin into an aggressive deck, you don't necessarily have to kill them. You just have to run them out of stuff, get into a position where they can't kill you. They reach for the button at the bottom right, and then you win. But if you're playing against WTY Bill's even more greedy Control Paladin, you're not going to outvalue WTY Bill. So Amnesiac will be smart enough to know that and desperately try and cling to a line that helps him just push damage. But, like, where do you find that in this matchup?
Stonehill defenders, man. Get more dread
to get all those massively aggressive taunt minions.
Yeah. So we are sorry, there is just a technical issue with the match, so we'll get right back into it as soon as possible for you guys, and that might be right now. Actually, that was really quick. there we go. Out of the way.
Production on point.
Yeah. So there we go. We did only miss a few of the turns. Looking at it, though, it was just a bit of back and forth. Nothing too crazy. And look already. WTY Bill, Elise in hand. Nazar
Seemed to make much sense. He'd rather hold on to the true silver, get greater value out of that. But now, this is around the point in the game, and you can see the furrowed brow, the intense consecration.
We might see an intense
We
consecration.
may do. That may still happen, but concentration was the word that I was looking for on Amnesiac's face, as he recognizes if he does not grip an advantage now over the next 2 or 3 turns, it might just be too late for him.
Yeah. It's very important to note as well that a loss.
That is an intense consecration, Raven. Sorry,
I'll give you this one. I'll give you this one. It was pretty intense.
All right.
But a loss in the first round of Swiss is a nightmare. This is the main thing you need to avoid, as it's more than likely it will create worse tiebreakers, as you'll be paired down for the second round, and then so on, so on, so on.
Yeah.
So Amnesiac having a loss in this first round, this could just be the match that actually makes it so he doesn't get there. You know, like
he will have to go
6-0
from this point. If he loses it, like, you don't get through as a 5-2 if you've lost round 1. We've seen that with Karakyu in the past, missing out on tiebreakers because of her early losses. So if Amnesiac goes down early here, he's going to have to make a 6-0 run through the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, and this kind of play as well from WTY Bill, as we get back to the game, is exactly what I was talking about. You know, yeah, Elise and Stonehill, great. What have you got to beat up Elise? You know, and then if you got something, great. I have now Tarim, I have 2 Spike Ridged, then have Nazoth just as the cherry on the top for if anything gets too dicey. He's already seen a Pyro and a Consecrate as well to help clear the board out. So you know there's 1 Consecrate and 1 Pyro down, so the equality combos in the deck are just lessened over time.
I just had a moment of value-induced shock as I realized that WTY Bill has the opportunity of a turn 10 Spike Ridge Steed plus Faceless Shambler available to him now.
That's all I've got for that.
Yeah. Gives you the shudders.
Yeah, this is a very intense moment. We've discussed the importance of not losing round 1 in the Swiss, and Amnesiac believes that nervousness and tense situations are not an excuse for misplay.
Reporting for duty.
I think when people watch me play, they either really want me to win or they really want me to lose. But I wouldn't really say that adds any pressure or affects how I perform. I don't think nervousness is a valid excuse for not playing your absolute best when you're playing for this much. So I take every tournament the same, and I don't really.
Such a good position for almost all of this game that it's just allowed him to just keep hold of it, and effectively is the key card that's going to take him into this game.
Whoa, why is Bill keeping the frozen minion alive as opposed to the non-frozen minion? Could he, that was a 3-1 remaining, right? So he couldn't have traded in the first place, it was a 3-1 to start with. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Well, I'll let him off this once. Pipeline Phoenix is still held in hand. Now there's a taunt in the way, and Amnesiac doesn't even have the swings to get through the Tarim. The victory is yours, WTY Bill, and he takes it over Amnesiac in round 1 of the Swiss. Great victory for him. Coming through he's one of the Tavern heroes, but a player we know very, very well with some great tournament experience in the Hearthstone Championship Tour.
Yeah, and crucially, it was just, he hit the lineup that he was really looking for. Convincing fashion with a 3-0, and he was able to do what Amnesiac wasn't, which was find the aggressive pushes with the decks that he was unfavored to win the value battle with.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and now we can check out one of the other matches we're going to be dropping into. It's going to be, I believe, Game 3 of Sidonia versus Kenny. Looks like it is a Quest Taunt Warrior versus a Quest Taunt Warrior.
I'm so pleased.
More control for everyone.
Hey, I've got nothing against control. I just particularly don't like this matchup.
What don't you like about this matchup, Solid?
I don't know. It's just relatively uninteresting to me in terms of, both players are just trying to play taunts as quickly as possible, and then once you get to the point where you've played the requisite number of taunts to get the push, is looking very, very strong for Kenny. But going back over to the other side, Coin and Primordial Drake Raven.
Yeah, I was just about to say, one of the frustrating things as the Druid here is so many of the minions have 2 health or more in the Rogue deck, but like 2 or 3. Swipe often doesn't get you there in terms of clearing the board.
Could have played around it as well by sending 3 damage into the 5/5. Of course, it's going into a 7-mana turn. I wonder if he'd lost track of the coin being there, and the look on his face, I think he forgot. I think he forgot the coin was still in hand. Oh dear, Kenny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at the face palm.
Yeah,
he forgot 100%.
Couple of things. Drake, very good card.
This is a downside that every minion does 5 damage in your deck after the quest, but it's situations like this where it becomes, you know, less important than it can be in other situations.
Yeah, and just look at this. The more it's trading away, we can see the value that's in hand for Sidonia, even as a gadgets and coin for more than likely later on at this point. This just looks like a pretty reasonable hero power Drake to me. I mean, he doesn't really have to even hero power the 5/1 down if he didn't really want. The only thing you've got to think about is if he bounces it and gets, like, more trades, but even that wouldn't work that well.
Well, it's more if you think of it the other way. The hero power to face actually just doesn't do anything.
That's true,
You're putting your opponent to 4 with this attack anyway, so every out in your deck, Feral Rages and Swipes are already live. So it's the exact opposite answer. Why bother not killing it? And Sidonia, in a very unfavored matchup, takes it down with Jade Druid. And honestly, Kenny's going to be looking himself in the mirror after that one and thinking about what could have been if he'd have just kept track of his opponent's hand accurately.
Yeah, really crazy game of Sidonia killing Kenny there. So it's absolutely huge to see the Jade Druid take the win. But we are going to check in with TJ and Admirable, see what they've been up to. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's been going good. I'll answer your question,
Thank you.
unlike some of us.
I'm so sorry.
I forgive you this time.
Well, it's been a long round 1, Admirable, but round 1 is actually still going on. So we have
right.
one more match that we're going to jump into in a moment. But before we do that, we actually have a highlight from a match that happened earlier. It was a match between, I believe, VLPS and VCT. That finished up, but we did have a pretty cool moment that we wanted to share with you guys from that match that we had. This was in a Shaman versus Warrior matchup. VCT playing the Taunt Warrior and VLPS on a very slow, controlling Nazah Shaman.
Yeah.
VLPS got VCT to fatigue, but he's at 3 health, Admirable.
Yeah, the big thing to look at in this matchup is how dominating the card presence is from VLPS's deck. It's meant to fight these exact kinds of battles where you exhaust your opponent's resources and have major inevitability. But 2 things have happened that were very important. Number 1, VCT kept his health total very high. He was able to check what VLPS was throwing at him for most of the game in terms of aggression. That didn't mean much for VLPS because eventually he established this board state, and what a board state it is. Again, VCT 0 cards, nothing left, full board for VLPS. But you know what? Your opponent can have all the cards in the world. They can have any board state they want, but if they don't have any life, they usually go down. And so VLPS, with this commanding position, the only way that this game can slip away is the fate that sits on VCT's side.
And I'm sure you guys at home can guess why we chose this clip. There's only one outcome that makes this clip a little bit interesting, and it's coming right now.
Wow. 7-1. VCT multiple turns to try and hit that. But if you have enough chances, eventually that outcome happens. When we talk about inevitability, there's a number of ways it can happen. That's usually the one that you do not see from the Quest Warriors' perspective, is the luck of the shot. But in this time, VCT takes it.
Yeah, and, you know, this has sort of changed the landscape.
Plus, he's got to worry about the board. If the board slips away, Doc Pone could find himself getting that ice block popped very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of burst from the Control Paladin deck, but those minions hit hard.
Yeah. Doc Pone taking his time, playing a little bit slowly. Even though he qualified for the World Championship, he still sometimes considers himself an underdog. Take a look.
These competitions are really, really important. I'm not the guy to be afraid of. In my mind and in my head, I'm still the underdog there, going there against all these good players.
It takes a while before you get into that mindset where you feel like you're an equal to the players that have been playing for years and years and years at the highest competitive level. Even though Doc Pone made a name for himself in winter, and we're going to see more of him at the World Championship and, you know, potentially.
At this stage, though, that's the question I'm wondering.
I guess he could have set him to 1, and even with the consecration, I don't get
Now
the
Guidon, that's it. That's game.
I guess he realized that he can't play around it.
The only situation here where Doc Pone loses is if he does not check for eye for an eye first. That is it. And he does.
He actually also had a Firelands portal in the deck. But that was close, because as soon as Guidon gets him to 1 and sets up that eye for an eye, he basically wins. So that was very, very close. But at the end of the day, Doc Pone's going to take it with the double fireball. And he's going to move on to round number 2 with a 1-0 score.
Alongside some other notable players as well after that grueling 5-game set. This has been a very long round 1 that we've seen.
Yeah. And we actually can show you guys some of the notables after round number 1. Some of the players that are sitting on top: Muzzy, Sidonia, Tare, Chalky, Doc Pone, all at 1-0. And some big names that are sitting at 0-1: Frozen, Amnesiac, Dog, also in the 0-1 list, Zalay, APX Void, just saying, Fibonacci. Some big names all down there at 0-1, but I guess half the field has to be 0-1 after the first round, so we can't be too surprised.
Yeah, not 0-1 is not out of the tournament at this stage. It's definitely not the start you're looking for. The second loss early on will be a devastating blow to tiebreakers, though.
Kind of a shame that we didn't get to see it evolve in this game, but I think maybe your feelings about the deck might have been.
Well, it had an opportunity. It had a window of opportunity this game where it could have taken it. And as well against the Priest in the previous game, which wasn't on stream, but we got to watch, where it's exact same situation for Chris. And he stuck to his guns.
To deal with more early aggression from decks like Pirate Warrior, so he's very well equipped. Also Harrison Jones. If he can get, with a safe life total, to about 4 mana, he's looking usually pretty solid.
And that's why we can see him here expending the Wild Pyromancer quality on just 1 minion. Because he knows if he's able to just make it a little bit further, then he's got the Ragnaros Lightlord to stabilize at the end. And Pirate Warrior's only drawn 1 card a turn. So if your Wild Pyromancer equality is taking out that threat, now he's establishing a Silver Hand Recruit to set up for the equality in his hand to take out the next threat, then he's just paved the way to make it to 8. It doesn't matter how low value he gets off his cards. And RadMD respects the equality so much in the Spike Ridge Steed so much he trades with a Silver Hand Recruit here. With a 6 damage Arcanite Reaper, and that does successfully play around to the equality, so he's got Shoop's number. He knows what's going on a little bit.
It seems like a very defensive play, but knowing what's in the Paladin deck and knowing that you need to play around Sunkeeper Terram, around second equality.
It's just not going to be enough, though. There's just so much taunt, so much healing. The targeting of Shoop's lineup working out for him here. Looks like we're going to be going to a game 5.
Yes, it certainly does. Primordial Drake is going to...
You know, those types of things are, you know, they happen enough to where it sort of brings up the consistency level of the deck naturally, despite it having those hands where it's not that great. So Nyoko Rogue is sort of a sleeper deck of this tournament where we have these huge control lineups that give it a bunch of time, and we'll see. Yeah, here's 2 other matches that are happening around the rest of the Swish portion of this event in round 3. Joester, who played at, I believe, the Spring Championship of 2016, likely to pick up either more card draw tools or more Jade Idols, which means his Jade Idols are already at 7/7, which is quite large. And as soon as those Jade Idols, if you, as the Druid player, can get your Jade Idols out of range of the 8 damage from the Sulfuras hero power, then you're putting yourself in a great position to sort of overwhelm the warrior, not really allow them many opportunities to come back in the game.
That's exactly the reason why Muzzy's been hanging on to those executes as well. He knows that at the moment's notice, things could go awry for him, and he's actually just going to brawl here.
I mean, if he wins this brawl, it'd be insane. Oh my goodness.
My gosh, TJ, that is a huge outcome. And Muzzy, even Muzzy looks like he couldn't believe it.
He was tugging at his collar. He's like, this is
That is a miracle outcome for Muzzy. Sehun put all of his eggs in that one basket, and the lack of card draw this game is now a massive detriment.
Yikes. Muzzy getting closer to completing the quest, and at the moment, he has control of the board, which is insane, considering how his opening hand had panned out. That brawl.
And although we're more than likely not going to see Explore and Goro at this point, it is something that I feel Dog could handle pretty well if required.
And sometimes for Dog, out of the depths of a meme comes an explosive deck. He was playing Quest Rogue on stream for a joke, essentially, when he started playing it. The expansion came out, everyone thought the Rogue Quest was terrible. Dog tried it out, being a big Rogue fan. Bam, rank 1 legend.
Oh, deck's good.
Thanks, Dog.
Yep, so everyone who has, been defeated by Quest Rogue many times on the ladder, that guy at the bottom's the one to blame more than likely. Now Dokpon with the Blossoms, just generating a 6/6, being able to trade away the board.
Yeah, he's just considering, he's trying to find a world where maybe he can use that Auctioneer as an engine next turn, but he's just forced to react to this board state. He needs to dump his spells just to kind of stay alive in this position, so he might just end up with a stranded Auctioneer in his hand, but it just has to ask the same question as he asked on the previous turn, which is, hey, I'm representing lethal on the board right now yet again, and now, Dog, you didn't have 1 damage last time. If you don't have it again now,
Completely set up lethal for next turn, even with the swipe, depending on what comes out from Dokpon here.
That's great recognition from Dog, honestly. I looked at leading with the Nether Spite into the Draconid Operative, but, I immediately said, okay, well, swipe doesn't work. Both Feral Rages are gone, but of course he could have hit Earthen Scales there for lethal. That's what he went fishing for. Okay. Didn't hit it, but got the swipe to potentially end the game on the follow-up. But now this is a big, big turn coming out from Dokpon with the Auctioneer Innovate.
Yep, and he has to I think he just has to use the swipe. This turn, I think just drawing the single card is not going to be enough. He's got a swipe face.
Scales, that could just end the game now. That is so much extra stability. Dog has desperately fished for a way to set up a win condition, and if the Earthen Scales didn't end the game, Raven, the Jade Idol has.
Yeah, Dokpon cheating out here. 2 10-10 Jades. How? And it's called Earthen Scales. But that is just going to be too much to handle here. Now with 18 health. Golaka Crawler. There needs to be a crab that kills a Jade. That's next expansion, people.
And then finally, once everyone gets really annoyed with all the crabs, a crab that eats crabs.
Yeah. Oh my god.
We've heard it all before, Raven.
Crabception.
Board is clear. Swipe, Dragonfire Potion, and the trade has kept him alive.
It's fine.
Dokpon. Jade Idols has he drawn since then? I think it's 2.
He's played 2, yeah.
I think it's 2, so there's 1 more left?
I think there's 1 left, I think.
All right.
But, wow. No mind control yet.
All right, well, now we will find out whether Dokpon is concerned about fatigue or not. And it seems like the answer might be yes, because with no other possible option, he just goes ahead and jams the Yogg, and this now could be everything for Dokpon.
Coin. Just need a few more of those.
Nope. Multi-shot does not work with only 1 target on the opposing board. Wind Fury hits the Wisp. That is a big whiff. Yogg keeps on trucking for now, though.
Uh-oh.
Rip Nourish. Oh, and that's a bad Yogg.
That's a bad one. There goes Nourish. Maybe Dokpon not too bothered, depending on the size of his deck. But the problem is, again, the way this Yogg has created the outcome of just handing over the initiative to Dog again, and suddenly, Mana Bind can just get thrown down. Any spell the Druid's going to play is only going to...
It's a good question.
Well, I feel like if it's Entity, then there's 1 card you need in the deck, right? It's just Jade Idol.
Right.
But then if it's Counterspell, I suppose you can play the Drake behind it. But how long can you wait?
I mean, he didn't have 10 mana available on that turn because he was overloaded for 1 by the Lightning Bolt, so he might just be considering he wants to hero power this Ooze and play the Drake in the same turn. That way the stats of the Ooze can't be used to deal with the Primordial Drake, because of course from Dokpon's perspective, his Primordial Drake is a giant 4/8 that Priest might have a bit of an issue dealing with, and we miscounted.
Yeah, all
of the Jade Idols gone, so Dokpon is just in a huge mess now. That is just going to be game for Dog. This is not going to be enough for Dokpon to get through.
The minion...
Also 2-1.
A solid heart.
All right, there you go.
Had one job to just draw a heart.
We don't even need to be by the chalkboard to write all over the chalkboard.
I don't even think I've ever seen anyone draw a heart with 3 lines.
I didn't.
It's usually just one.
I didn't press my finger hard enough on the first one.
Or on the second one.
This thing's hard to use, man.
It's pretty tough.
Give me a break.
Well, we do have a little bit of a break coming, but before that, it's Watt versus Phenom. Watt up 2-0 in this one. And despite the lineups that Watt has continued to bring, they look a little bit questionable. He has continued to perform.
Watt is a god among men. Last season, he made it to the top 8 with a Reno Priest. Now, Priest was considered nearly unplayable in that season. Brought it with a Reno Priest without Raza Chained.
That's right.
Without one of Reno Priest's best cards, a lot of people would say. Now, this time around, he brought an aggressive Murloc Paladin, so a very low curve, lots of those, you know, fast Murlocs, few 1-drops, even Bluegill Warriors in the deck, with a lease.
He's got some strange choices, there's no question about that, but it is a bit tough to argue with some of his results.
At minimum, because you hero power down the taunt, and then you hold another minion, you can play more minions after that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still put him into 1 this turn.
Right, I guess the point you try and make is like hitting him for 5 or hitting him for 8 is basically the same thing in that spot, so...
You could just have a healthier Harrison.
Right, I can kind of get behind you in that.
I'm clutching at straws, to be completely honest, in terms of...
and I mean, when a game is this one-sided and this over...
He's been able to hit, you know, 2 of his 3 silences. He's activated a couple of threats, and he's pushing in a decent amount of chip damage. Sidonia is still at 25, but starting to make way. And now Sidonia has to debate whether or not this is worth brawling. Does he feel scared? Does he feel like he's going to be able to get Divine Spirit interfired? And he knows there's only 1 silence left in the deck for Monsanto, so there's not going to be a lot of additional threats that could come out. The only thing that he's really afraid of is 1, losing the brawl, and 2, Lyra. That's the only other real minion. Otherwise, it has to be a 2-card combo really to punish him in this situation. Yeah, and you know, this power turn was just all brought to you by saving that Nourish and knowing in the mid-game, hey, they're not going to put too much pressure on me. I have the ability to slow play this and then just cycle it in the mid-game. They may get a little bit of chip damage in, but I'll be fine at the end of the day. And, you know, that's exactly what happened. Just exploit the fact that the Gunther Mage has really weak mid-game, take advantage of that to draw cards to build the combo for the late game because you already have the weapon removal. Make sure you remove the Etiesh, and then just coast from there with your extra cards doing broken Jade Druid stuff like this.
This week's episode of Jade Druid Beatdown is brought to you by Nourish, a 5-mana card that can draw you 3 more cards. Play Nourish today.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, because it was very tempting to just innervate Nourish for the crystals there because it just fit the curve so well and would have allowed Sidonia to have a lot more tempo.
Yeah, he would have been able to go into Aya the turn after.
Right, yeah. So it would have been like much higher tempo play, but I believe the way that he played it is a lot more consistent overall.
It really shows great knowledge of win condition. Honestly, you know what the mage wants to do to kill you, and you know what you need to prevent that. He didn't have Earthen Scales or Fail Rage in hand at that moment, knew he would need to draw it. That was the way he was going to.
Unfortunately, fun is not something I ever have in my day-to-day life. Most of my fun comes from sleep, I guess.
My parents actually used to sort of breed and like look after exotic animals. So I pretty much grew up like with all kinds of crazy stuff. If I go to the zoo and I'm like, seen those, had those.
The first time I actually ever did a Blizzard casting event, the Twitch chat started referring to me as Adele. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I took it as a great compliment because Adele's fantastic, and if I have half the singing chops of Adele, then I'm doing just fine. Sometimes it lasts in love, but sometimes it hurts instead.
But you weren't kidding, you can sing.
Cora can sing, actually, really well. And I sing a lot badly, but I don't do it here because she puts me to shame.
Yeah, Can we just cancel the tournament and just have Cora serenade everybody for the next few hours? That seems like a plan.
It seemed pretty reasonable. Also, as well, I don't know about you, but I actually hadn't seen that video yet.
No, I hadn't.
I was actually like, what did we say for that interview? But
apparently, I said nothing. I'm just fundamentally uninteresting by the looks of things.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But we learned some key information about Kibler, which I think was quite important. She doesn't like lettuce. That must be a pain.
Here's an interesting fact about me. I have a phobia of mushrooms. Not I don't like mushrooms, they give me panic attacks. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
I cannot believe you just released that fact to the world. I knew this a long time ago.
I don't care, like, people can bombard me with pictures and stuff on Twitter all they want. That doesn't affect
actually
me.
bother you, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
But we see the players just getting ready. It looks like Stark just checking with an admin that everything is okay. And Phenom looks very, very focused indeed. This is a huge win for Phenom as well, because if he gets this win, because he's been paired, you know, vice versa, we talk about Stark being paired down. Never mind, he's not going to Jade Lightning.
He's not going to Jade Lightning. He's actually just going to trade out the 4-2 Jade on board right now, I believe, and then preserve his Aya just to play around any more potential Primordial Drake kind of nonsense from Stark coming out to deal with this board state. And I think we've seen him be very, very concerned, and quite rightly so, in multiple games about this card, Primordial Drake. That second evolve that I talked about a lot, that was...
Hot pop. But at 3, Rossi is not feeling comfortable about this.
Primordial Glyph, any point of damage. Or any point of damage off the top. A lot of outs here for Ray C.
Is that too hasty of Rossi to take that damage? And Ice Block's going to give him another turn. Do you just go for it?
Arcane Missiles, you need 2 shots.
Well, the problem with that is if he leaves up the Alley Armorsmith, Rossi's going to be able to chip back a little bit.
Oh,
get in the car.
Did you just see that?
Okay, where do you guys want to eat?
How about Soul Buffet?
Again, that is not a real place. You just want to murder people. We had pizza yesterday, so pizza?
What about sushi?
Shotgun! Uther gets it.
TJ gets it.
I love Uther.
Yeah, these are pretty great.
All right, Kibler, it's been a long day, and I'm excited to bring you guys round number 6. And we are going to cover an excellent match. We have Ant versus Ray C. And I know this one means a lot to you, Brian, because we have Ray C, a guy that means a lot to you because you said that he kind of grew up down your street.
Yeah, he actually, his mother was friends with my mother, actually after I had moved out and, was away at school. But, when he was a kid, he had, grown up playing games and actually gave a bunch of my old competitive, card game stuff to him back when he was a youngster. And he's come a long way since then. And here he is, one game away from, or rather one match away from being in very good position moving into the rounds tomorrow.
That's right. Both these players are 4-1. Winning it would almost put them at the door.
Matriarch goes in, you're still dead.
Yeah, you definitely have to sequence properly around this eye for an eye. I don't see any other line of play here.
I got a move.
Okay. Matriarch directly challenges the Stegodon.
Okay. You can see that. It does set up a better trade for you. But,
this way it is the Wicker Flame that is...
Right, the Wicker Flame comes back this way instead of...
Hydrologist.
The Hydrologist.
Out of my jungle.
These are not very good taunt minions.
Nope.
I'm not ready.
Still probably going to be enough, though. Diego's just out of resources.
I'm out of cards.
It's out of cards, too.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's going to win from this position, he needs to connect with his Tar Creeper. It's actually a key part of his victory because he doesn't have any smaller minion to be able to really connect because he's going to be taking the fatigue damage, right? So
Yep, he'll take the 1 this next turn and then the 2.
And then the 2 after. So the Drake's too slow on the connection a lot of the time.
Creeper needs to
Unless-
go in for 1.
If he hero powers here and hits the 4-3, then he can pave the way with the Drake. So he has to risk it again. He hits it. Oh, quality
my
Drake
God.
cleans everything up.
Oh, Muzzy, you're making it interesting, man.
Well, that's... Well, he's going to take 1 fatigue damage, then 2... I think. We counted that right? He's
Yes,
already taken
he
1
took
fatigue
1.
damage.
Then he takes 2, and 2 plus 3
Right. 2
equals
plus 3 is
5.
5. And he can't kill him on the next turn, even if the rag shot goes face here.
Muzzy is not yet in fatigue. That's all she wrote, folks. Muzzy is going to go up to a 6-0 record in quite a nail-biter of a series. They really took it all the way.